And it seems that a lot of people start to worry about, you know, missing a day off in the gym or trying to cram in as many workouts as they can possibly tolerate, with the mistaken belief that that is going to yield better results, both in the short term and the long term. And based on what we see in the literature, if you read the literature, I'm not saying if you watch or see content of, the best way to describe them is, it's kind of an old school term, but Johnny come lately coaches or influencers. They'll post things about the research says this and the research says that. But the thing is, they're kind of new to reading literature. They haven't really trained a lot of people, and that's kind of where I'm different. Yes, I'll refer to literature, but I'm also going to refer to, my personal experience training people. Not myself, not anecdotal evidence, but an accumulation of essentially evidence from training hundreds of people over the last decade, one-on-one, and observing them. And what I find is that more workouts per week are not better. You can argue until you're blue in the face and recite this study after that study, but here's the thing. Here's the truth. What the vast majority of the literature shows is that higher workout frequency, considering you're training to muscle failure or at least close to it, more frequency does not result in a better outcome, better muscle growth, better strength, probably even better fat loss in the long term. It just doesn't. And then from my own personal experience, which makes me far different than most of the people on social media, YouTube, whatever, is that I've supervised thousands and thousands and thousands of workouts. I estimate about 25,000 workouts I've coached people and supervised them through, and I tracked the data. I tracked the body composition changes. I tracked the weight loss. I tracked the strength improvements. And what I found, more workout frequency, more workouts per week is not better. And it's extremely difficult for people to grasp this concept because of people have been taught things about exercise that just aren't true. All right, but here's the thing. This is a good thing because it allows you to still get tremendous results and perhaps the best results possible not training all that much. 2 workouts a week, even one also seems to be, in the long term, as effective as 2, considering you're training hard, of course. Now, if you listen to, anecdotes, from, people who go to the gym or whatever, and, they say that working out more frequently work better for them. Well, you also have to consider, how are they working out? You got to go to your local gym. You just got to observe people and see how they're training. And generally, it's not very hard. They're simply doing manual labor, essentially. They're not training with the intent of deeply stressing and essentially punishing their muscles. Okay, so when you're not doing that, yeah, more is going to be better. More, if you repeat a small amount of stress, more, it could accumulate to the correct amount of stress to stimulate an adaptive response. Or you can accumulate a lot of stress in a short period of time infrequently. So, I had a client that was telling me today that, he's got other activities martial arts, plays hockey once or twice a week. He's got a lot of other physical activities. And he was mildly worried that, cutting back his training was going to have some negative effect. But the exact opposite is true. In that case, in most cases, if you're training with a high amount of effort, training correctly, training with the goal of stressing the muscle, less is usually more. Especially if you've got other physical activities that you're doing. Ice hockey, pretty physical, pretty intense. Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, pretty physical, pretty intense. If you're doing these activities multiple times a week, it's going to be a lot better for you to train less frequently, even less volume. But even if you weren't doing those other physical activities, generally cutting it back is still better. And again, this isn't just something I'm pulling out of my ass. My God, I've been supervising workouts for 10 fucking years. And coaching people all over the world, not even just in the US. I coach people from Australia, Dubai, South Africa, Germany, the UK. And I had another question today that said, one more thing I want to go over in this video. I think it was kind of an attempt to contradict the volume and training frequency recommendations that I make, again, based off of literally coaching thousands of sessions. And the comment was, how do you explain elite natural bodybuilders who train with higher frequency and higher volume? Simple. All right, listen very carefully to this. Individuals who are going to gravitate towards bodybuilding have above average genetics. They're going to respond to anything. And just because something worked does not mean it was the best approach. Look at, here's an example. Washing a car. I use this one a lot. You take an individual who has washed his car with a toothbrush his entire life, and he spent 6 hours every time he washed his car, and the car got clean. And you come up to him and you show him a pressure hose or a pressure washer and say, hey, say he's washing it with a toothbrush and a spray bottle or a squirt gun or something. You say, hey, you can get this car just as clean much faster if you just use these tools that are going to make it more efficient and faster. And the individual's response is, well, I've been washing my car with a toothbrush and a squirt gun my whole life, and it works, so I'm not going to change anything. You would look at them like they were absolutely fucking insane. And it's the same exact logic when you refer to either a natural or unnatural bodybuilder doing higher volumes, higher frequencies than I recommend, because it worked. Okay, just because it worked doesn't mean it was the most efficient, doesn't mean it was the safest. They could have been essentially just wasting their time. But the thing is, since it did work, they're never going to change it. And it's just like the individual washing the car with the toothbrush and the spray bottle. Well, I've been washing my car like this forever, and my car gets clean, so I'm not going to change it. It's the same exact thing. It's literally the same logic. What I'm teaching is something that's going to give the same results more quickly and efficiently and safely. Instead of sitting in your driveway for 6 hours once a week, wash your car with a toothbrush and a spray bottle, you're going to be taking it through an automatic laser wash or an automatic car wash. That's it. That's how you explain that. Okay? So do not be fooled and do not be persuaded by these individuals, these influencers, these whatever you want to call them, out there who are essentially, comparatively, washing their car with a toothbrush, telling you it's the most effective way to clean your car. Because it's not. And it's stupid. All right, like, subscribe, bell, all that other stuff. And I will see you next time.